All right. We're 4 minutes late. And I apologize, but that's because the joys of the internet and all this stuff makes it so easy, right? We can do all these things, and that's why we hate going live sometimes. We love going live. It's the best thing ever. We'd rather go live all the time, but then trying to get StreamYard didn't want to connect me. So I had to like go redo a whole nother one, sort of, and go through a different route. And I couldn't even get Hallman. Hallman's coming. I think he's coming. He might call me here in a second. But he'll eventually be here. I'm hoping. If not, I'm going to call him and see if everything's going on. All right, let's see. Come on, Holman. I don't know. I'm just waiting on you. Did you get the email? Oh, I don't see you. He said he's still waiting on me. See, that's a problem with all this. No, there he is.
You're
Gotcha.
That's my bad all along.
Dude, luckily we can fish, right? Well, sort of. I mean, you can fish. I can fish one day of the week. You can fish multiple days.
What day? What time is that? We're only 6 minutes late. Hell,
well, I got here. Hey, the bad part is when I got on, I didn't even push live for like the first minute and was just talking. And I was like, man, I've just been talking to myself.
Woo! Yeah, we should have
started all right
earlier.
Now we can, huh?
We should have started that a little bit earlier. Probably.
Well, yeah, I know. I thought I had it. Man, whatever. Like I was just so normally I even like made this whole connection this morning. So I thought I was like, I had it all done, right? And so I had already made all this up. So I've had this waiting to go live since this morning time. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I probably should have started a little bit earlier.
We're here. We're only 6 minutes late.
All right. So we will eventually get to questions. Normally, y'all know how we do. We plan nothing. We just go straight into whatever. That's not going to be the case because there's some things that I did not. I'm not like Hallman. Y'all know I didn't prepare anything. Like I didn't write anything down, but I did think about some things. So I was like, man, my first deal is this. So me and you talked a whole bunch after the weigh-in when we kind of we thought we were like 99.9% sure you were in it, and you were, but we didn't count in everything. And then we've talked a little bit since then, but I know how you are and me are. Like when we get home, we want to get home with our family and everything for a while, like decompress. So we've talked a little bit, but for the most part, all y'all are going to get to hear this for the first time. So I'll start off. What, like, as of now, like, what's it like? What are you feeling?
It was like winning a tournament. I mean, it was. Besides the monetary gain of a check of winning one, it's like winning a tournament, and it was like winning a really big one because it's been a long, hard road to for me to get there. You know, I've got a lot of thank yous and appreciations that I've got to deal out. I dealt some of that out today and tonight, actually before I got on this live with one of my sponsors, and I've got tomorrow. It's actually the most fun part of it, but I've got some more phone calls tomorrow of people that have stood with me, and man, it's been great. I'm looking forward to next year, and you know, there's so much going on in our industry right now with MLF and Bass, and I'm just glad it happened now. I'm glad that I'm finally through there. I can't express my appreciation to be through there. I mean, it's been hard, and I'm glad it's over.
Well, so I'll say this. I know winning my first tournament, like my first big tournament, even like I would even say my first tournament on Rayburn that I won big, but I would say my first Toyota. it's not as much excitement as one would think. Like there's an excitement, but it's a different excitement. And I would say the excitement is not it, it's relief. And it shouldn't be, but really that's what it is. And I think you'll agree with me, right? You would think like, oh, I just won this, but really sometimes when you finally get something like that, even in fishing, like we know we can fish, right? But it's like that relief of kind of going, okay, now it's, even though this is stupid, you got a trophy or something that shows you're good, even though it shouldn't really be like that. But there's this just relief of going, okay, I got that off my back, like the monkey off my back. Wouldn't you say that it's so draining that I would say it's more relief sometimes than it is the excitement of winning.
Yeah. There was a lot of emotions, dude. Like a lot of people know that have been following us and my channel and your channel and Andrew's channel. It's been 3 years, dude. That's a long time, And when you watch guys like Jason Christie and Hackney and some of those guys go through, they make it look so damn easy. And it is easier for them. It is. But I'm not one of those guys. I mean, yeah, I can catch a bass. I feel like I can catch a bass the best in the world. But those guys are kind of that 1%er, and they make it look stupid easy. And for as hard as it is to me, as much as I fish and as good as fisherman as I am, that's what allows me and you to have the respect for the Hackneys that we do, right? It's because we know what a gauntlet that is, no matter how good you are. And it's just, man, dude, honestly, it's just a relief. Like I just wanted through that. We talked about it when we left. There wasn't very many people that basically we jumped off a cliff when MLF purchased FLW. And to be quite honest, of the 175 guys that were in the FLW tour, there were four. No, there was five. There was five, and maybe I've forgotten somebody. But B-Lat jumped with us, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't room with us and stuff, but B-Lat made the same move that we did. And
there's 6. Did Randy do it?
Did Randy leave at the same time as well? Blockett, yeah. I think you're right. I think Blockett left at the same time. You're right.
Is that 6? 6 of us?
That's 6 of us. Yeah, that's 6 of us that left, and we knew what we were getting into and what it was going to be against. That's why only 6 left, because they knew what a gauntlet that was. And not only that, but trying to keep sponsors, right? Because we were all fishing at a national tour level and we all had paying sponsors. And that's very difficult to keep fishing at a regional level and to pay for, the expenses and pay for your family and all the things that we've got going on. Anyway, there was only 6 of us, and that was because of how difficult it was. And looking at it now, it's going to get even harder, year after year. But dude, I'm just so glad to be done, just done with it.
Hey, real quick, are you in the frame? It doesn't look like looks like you're not in the frame all the way. No, you go that way and down just a little bit. Yeah, better. You're like halfway. Or I don't know. Maybe it's not off mine, but you're off mine.
No, it was. I was trying to read comments while I was talking.
Okay.
I can't because I'm on my phone doing this. Is the audio pretty good? Can you hear me good?
To me, it sounds good. We'll find out.
All right.
Man, yeah. And when we went, it was pretty cool when we went too, because I was probably the least worried about it because I'd been spending my whole life not really fishing the tour of the elites. So and really since when Costa left FLW at that time of like a major sponsor, because Costa was going through some things and FLW was going through some things and they didn't like see eye to eye. I don't think whatever happened, it was kind of my way. I mean, I didn't really have a choice. Like I could have, I guess, paid my own way, but y'all know me, makes zero sense to do that. So I was never going to fish the tour anyways. Again, I would have. I told you I probably wouldn't have left if I had someone paying the way. But it did offer up. If anyone says, "Hey, do you regret it?" Man, not a chance. And that's nothing against FLW or any of those things. I learned this whole YouTube thing. I got in more with sponsors. I learned how to actually sell myself. I did a lot of I'm fine with it. Like totally fine with it. And then I only did it for 1 year. I don't think Andrew was ready for that. Remember, I think Andrew was very shocked at me only doing it 1 year and not doing it the next. And I was like, hey man, I always looked at everyone's situation's different. And I was like, hey man, like this traveling around the country fishing these opens, like this ain't gonna cut it. Like, I mean, I'm sure what's funny, you won the points in the centrals, and what'd you finish up overall? Did you ever look?
8th or 9th. 8th or 9th. So like if it was next year, I would have qualified.
You would have qualified, right? I think the first year I would have qualified. I think I finished 8th or 9th or 7th or something. Dude, you lost money this year, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't, look at and realize, and that's one of the reasons that we complain, and we complain to Bass too about the opens, is that especially with them going to 9, right, to making a 9 qualifier, that's what really makes it no sense, because there's already like 90 of us signed up this year to fish all of them, and like I said, I finished 8th or 9th, so that means that I'm beating. Basically, I mean, if we went to 100, let's just say 90% of them. I know that's not the exact math, but and I think I haven't done the math on the checks that I've cashed, but let's say it's somewhere around $9,000. It might be 10. I might be 1,000 on it too, but
how many checks you get this year?
That's ballpark where it is this year. And
wait, you got.
I
know you got 3 in the centrals.
I think I've got 4 total. But
that's going to be at least 12 to 15.
It's closer to 12 than 15. Well, anyway.
Well, I know, but I mean, if you just look at 9, let me do the math real quick. I mean, what is it? 13 to 4. I'm not doing it real quick, but 13 or 14,000.
It's 16.5 in entry fees alone.
Yeah. Like that. I mean, that's just,
that doesn't count driving. That doesn't count driving to the East Coast 4 separate times, dude. 4 separate times where you go out there and come back, go out there and come back, go out there and come back.
I just want everyone to really understand something. The guy won the Centrals. Even winning the Central, he made 3 checks.
Yeah, the Central, I got all 3 checks. Yeah,
and might have
probably might have made $9,000 in the Centrals.
So yeah, minus what you're putting up, and then travel. You might have barely broke even in the Centrals, and you won the points. Now, granted, someone's going to be like, "Well, look at who wins first or second." Well, there was only 9 winners.
Yeah,
and second place.
And most of those guys are qualifying for the Classic. Most of them.
Yeah, you got to make a top 3. So I mean,
I'm sorry, the elites.
Yeah, it's just such a. That's why I told Andrew, I was like, Andrew, I can't go travel around doing this. This is one, I don't want to be away from my family that long for no reward. Like there was no reward. And I was like, man, and then I was telling you, this will never come up. I looked, someone was asking me about some, are you going to fish them next year? I'm like, I think next year would be my best year to ever qualify because, like I said, I've done it once. I've got a couple of the years in the Toyotas, and I mean, even in the Central divisions, I mean, I've made a lot of top 10s, and even this year. So going back to the last 2 events of the Opens, when we fished all of them, and then I fished 2 of them last year and 3 of them this year, and I think there's probably about 8 or 9 Toyotas in that 2 to 3 year range. And I've missed a check once, and it was at the Red River where I missed it by a pound. That's the only check I've missed in 3 years in any Open or Toyota. And so I was like, Andrew, man, it's hard. Like I can make money because I'm not traveling 9 states away. I'm only traveling 3 states away. There's light at the end of the tunnel for some of that stuff. And then there's a championship for the tour. I mean, what you did Here's what I want other people to understand. I want you to explain this. Explain. I don't think you're going to be able to explain this very well, and it's not your fault. I don't think they'll ever understand the mental. You're not fun to be around. None of us are. We're not we're not the most pleasant people to be around fishing all night opens. And if you are, something's wrong with you. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because explain to them about what it takes out of you, and fishing is. There's so many things, but tell them exactly what it takes out of you.
Well, I mean, at the end of, let's just go to last year when I didn't qualify and I was at Grand Lake, and
Yeah, tell them.
I'd gone all in, and I can't even explain. Like, dude, it's everything in your soul. It's everything physically. It's everything mentally. Now I'm talking about for a guy like me. I'm not speaking for Christy or Hackney that could come out and freak show and have a smile on their face and they're like, welcome back to the elites. It's not that way for me. And I knew it wasn't going to be going in, but it takes everything I got. Like, I have nothing left. Last year after Grand, and I looked, I mean, I strategized. I wasn't going to make it the overall last year. And so the way that they have it set up with the divisionals last year, it was smart for me not to even go to the last two that were like on the East Coast and up north in those two divisions, because I wasn't going to make it. And my whole goal was to make the elites, not anything else. So I went all in on the Centrals, and it almost worked. We had 2 tournaments left in the Centrals. I already had a top 20 at Pickwick and the first one. So they were the last 2 tournaments of the year. And so I went all in on them. And we go to Alabama to a blue herring lake, which I'm great with. And I catch them really good the first day. You were there, Todd. You were in the Centrals last year. And I'm catching them.
I only fished 2 of them, though.
I know.
Remember, I missed that one.
But you were there with me on this one.
Yeah.
And when I'm getting bit on docks with a jig and I'm getting 15 bites a day, dude, we good. I don't need nothing else. We're good. And first day of tournament, that's what I do. I catch like 14 keepers. And I call up and I'm in like 14th or 15th place after day 1. Exactly where I need to be. And day 2 just comes apart on me. I don't make the adjustments I need to make. I'm not going to go all into this, but I really gave up the ghost and I weighed in 1 fish. Now, wasn't a terrible finish. It was, I fell from like 15th to 40th or something like that. There was still some hope. It was tiny, but I had to go to Grand and I basically had to finish first, second, or third probably. And this is going into what I thought. And I was right. That's about what it would have taken. But, hey, it's Grand. I'm at home. We've been all over the country all year long. We're coming home to Oklahoma. Let's see what happens. And I catch them decent the first day, not great. The second day, I took a huge risk, which is what you got to do. I make a long run. I catch 1 giant. And I've got 4 fish. I spend the rest of the day trying to catch a giant. I've got like 3 hours left to fish. I'm trying to catch a fish, a big one. And so I do not back up because I'm at home. I'm running memories. You know the deal. You were just at Rayburn. And that fish never comes. Never comes. And I honestly thought I needed that big one to make the cut. And I end up finishing the tournament like 12th or 13th. So I only missed the cut, the top 10 cut by a pound. I don't know what would happen on the last day, but I'd like to have had a shot. I'm not saying I could have or couldn't have. The reason I'm telling you this story is because we're talking about what it took out of me when I idled out from Grand, because I didn't put in there. I put in at a different ramp. The ramp over by the house where I kind of grew up. Yeah. And I put in over there by myself. And I idled away from Wolf Creek. And I don't know why. I just shut my motor off. I'm out there all by myself. Phone's turned off. Nobody's out there with me. And I didn't even realize I was really kind of doing it until I heard a voice. And it was one of the other open anglers. And I don't know who he is. I apologize. I don't know who he is. He had seen me. It's probably a guy that made the top 10, probably. He'd seen me out there sitting and floating. He'd probably watched me idle out there and kill my motor. And he pulled out there to me and he said, Hallman, you don't know me, but I'm a fan of yours. And he said, you're doing everything right. And I know this was hard on you today. He said, keep your head up and keep swinging. And he fired up his motor and he howled off. I have no idea who the guy was, but it meant a lot to me and it was hard on me. And this year was no different. I mean, going into the end was was as tough as it could be, dude. You know, I have nothing left when it's over. Nothing. I have no physical strength, no emotional strength, no spiritual strength. Like I'm just flat empty.
Well, so Troy, that's why. He just answered your question. Because man, I don't like there that it's just you there's nothing left. It's not that there's nothing left. Like you physically can't hardly get your thoughts together. You don't feel like none of like you two all the stuff that like even the elites are out of his mind in the sense of it's just a relief. Like you got to go decompress. Like there's a decompress after winning, a
Yeah.
decompress after losing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that happen. I mean, I decompressed. I did it quicker than Holman. Because that final day, like I talked to Holman, he knows. I won't get into it much because it shouldn't be a depressing show, but it took a lot out of me. And but I've done this long enough that like I can handle the lows, and I've learned to. It's been a long time since I've had one that low. That's just there's a lot of reasons for that, but regardless, I told Holman will tell you, like, I was like, man, I sure am glad you made it because, like, you put me in a lot better mood to where I could, because normally I probably would have weighed in my fish and, like, walked out of there. But I wasn't doing that with Holman. All I wanted to do was watch him weigh in, make it. And then, like I said, it put me in a lot better mood. Now, it was still hard on the way home, but then I've learned also a long time ago that I have learned to leave all that at the door. And what I mean by that is like I walk through that door, my kids and my wife don't need any of that coming in their life. So I have learned to suck it up, be a grown up, and go, okay, man, like that's hard, and just move on.
Yeah.
Because really, it's still just a fishing tournament. And I still look at stuff a little bit differently. Like, I know some guys still want me to go qualify for the elites and stuff. And I haven't ruled it out that I'm fishing them next year. But I have put zero thought into it. I've looked at everything else, and like I said, man, I always just trust in the Lord that, man, whatever He wants me to do, I'll go do. So I can get over stuff and try not to get too high and lows on those things. But regardless, Holman still probably you're going to be going through the motions for a little bit, and then it'll start.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I mean, shoot, another guy said it. I don't know where it is, but I wish I was getting down to this comment. But someone goes, "Will you have the jitters for next year?" And I started laughing at that one. I can answer that one. He will have zero jitters.
Yeah, that's fact. I've been there. Like I'm ready for that.
Even if you haven't,
let's give a little explanation to it. You know, I mean, yeah, it's some of the best anglers in the world. But dude, I've spent the last years fishing against the best in the world. I know who they are. I know what it's about, and they're phenomenal. I get it. They are. But it's the best lakes in the country at the best time of year, and they are in my wheelhouse. We're not chasing fall fish around that you got to go live scope out in the middle of the lake. These suckers are going to be on the bank, son, and it's the biggest ones that live in the pond. And it equals the playing field because that's how I and Todd both like to fish, and we like to look at them. We like to look at them a lot, don't we, Todd? I looked at the schedule already. You know, you were asking about the elites, or you said the comment that we weren't, when it all comes down, you're not thinking about the elites. You're right. I had a couple people ask me what I thought about the schedule at that weigh-in. Hell, I've never seen the schedule.
I know.
I didn't know what it was. I don't care what it is. Sounds good to me. Let's go. But when I finally did look at it, dude, first 4 tournaments, I'm not saying they're all sight fishing events, but there's the possibility that you could look at them for 4 straight events. Like we haven't had it open like that schedule in 3 years. Like I'm all for it. Let's get it on. But I don't know how good I can look at them. I'm losing my eyesight. That's one thing I'm going to try to do, Todd. I'm trying to get that surgery. I've got an eye doctor appointment to see if I can get that. It's not, I forget what it's called, LASIX. But my mom's got it. She's got back to 20/20 vision. She's 73. So hopefully I got the same thing she's got, and I can get 20/20 again too, because I've been hating it the last 2 or 3 years, dude. I've just lost my eyesight.
Well, I'll go back to this. this shouldn't be that. Me and Holman get into a lot of conversations. We think a lot alike. That's why we kind of room together. It's why we've been known each other for. I was thinking about this. I don't know what it is. I think it's been close to. It's been at least 15 years, but it might be longer. I can't remember exact. I know when we met. It was at Falcon. I just don't remember that year. Because I was me and Brent, you and Nick.
Mhm.
But we've talked a lot about these opens and then how they translate to elites. And I remember there's a couple guys that even fished the tour. And I remember when Wesley Strader moved over, he was like, man, it's crazy. I can like pick up and drive somewhere on a lake, fishing the elites, and no one's there.
Yeah.
He's like, that doesn't happen on tour.
Oh.
Now the tour only had
75 more boats.
160, 170.
Right.
We're with yeah, but opens are 225. And I'm telling you, there's guys fish a certain way, right? Guys all have their strengths and weaknesses, and a lot of guys throw a spinning rod and go after a certain amount of whatever. And me and Hallman got, and what I mean by that, let me be more clear about that. So if you're a good one-day fisherman, and what I mean by that is me and Hallman grew up fishing local derbies. Go ahead, Hallman.
I'll be right back. Keep talking.
We grew up fishing local tournaments. And at some point in time, to do good in those local tournaments, you have got to lay it all out on the line and be okay with zeroing, or be okay with whatever, and go for the win. Like you've got to go for the win. You just have to in those local events, or you're never going to win any money. And what do you have to lose, right? There's rarely anything on the line other than just that one day. And so with that comes a lot of, you can win a lot of money and boats. And I mean, like we made a living doing that. I did it for a long time. You learn to fish a certain way. And I've tried telling people that. I'm like, hey, look, I was really good sometimes at cashing checks for a while. Well, when I grew up on Livingston, I was pretty good at winning. And then I got to Rayburn, I was really good at cashing checks. Like eventually, not right away, I had to learn how to cash checks. And then eventually I got tired of that because I couldn't win any money, like real money. And so I eventually learned, I'm like, I got to go figure out how to win. And once I did, I was addicted to winning. The problem was I did really bad at, like, I was good at zeroing or doing bad in events. Like I didn't know how to adjust that well. And I finally like found my medium where I eventually fished so much for the win that I got pretty good at just normal fishing too, and like pulling out good checks as well. And that's when I really started making money at the local level. Well, you learn to fish a certain way. I mean, you look at, if any of y'all have watched my videos, everything in my videos, from my rod selection, line, if you ever hear me, what's my one thing I say? I'm like, I'm not worried about catching the 2-pounder. I'm worried about catching the 8 and the 9. And I don't want to have the story like everyone else is like, man, I lost the 8 or 9-pounder today, or I couldn't get her out of the grass, or I got her hung up in a stump and broke my line. Like, I don't have those stories because I've put everything I could into figuring out how to catch big fish, because that's what's going to win. Hallman has a knack, me and him both, for going. If we can get bit, we usually catch big ones because of the way we fish. It doesn't do well in opens because the pressure and the amount of people. So we always said, you get us to the elites and our style instantly, we might be up and down, but man, it'll put you at the leaderboard every once in a while. And that's why Hallman's not worried, because it doesn't matter. Like, we all respect Christie and Hackney and Polnick. Like, we know they're better than us, right? But we don't really.
We can beat them.
Yeah, because like, and I mean, like, you're really good friends with Christie. I'm really good friends with Hackney, and I mean, they're still just fishermen, and it's really not us versus them. It never has been. It's never us versus the other fishermen. It's always just us versus the fish. And we know if we go out there and catch them the way our style is, good luck catching us when we catch one of those bags. And, you know, I mean, you did it on Lanier. You've done it in Florida. Like I've done it in certain places. So like we've done it around the country where we will weigh in a big bag in an event. Like we will freak show them every once in a while. And you get us to freak show them 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And it's over. So, I mean, yeah, I know you're going to be like the jitters of fishing the elites or not, but not really. You've got nothing to lose that first year. That's the cool thing. Dude, you already, like you made, like the way it's set up now, you already made it. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now, you might start getting some jitters like later on down the year if you're like trying to make the classic and some things like that. But that you're going to be so excited day one, it won't even like, you're just going to be, I could just see like there would be zero pressure in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just excited, you know, to be there and start, and we're going to start in Okeechobee and all that. But let's just focus on like what this was this week. And, you know, both of my big tour wins, you know, my family was there, my wife and a couple of my children, and that was great. But, you know, by the time you get to the last day, everybody's left. And I understand that everybody's got to go. Andrew had to go in this one, and I get that. Andrew was a big part of my life for the last 2 years. You know, the first year we did it, it was me, you, Todd, Andrew, and Scott. And Andrew and Scott have a very tight relationship. And it was very easy for you and I to fit in the house because we were like, cool, it's you and me. But then when Scott moved on and then you weren't there, you know, Andrew and I definitely created and grew much, much closer. And over the last 2 years, we've grown really close. When I came off stage after weighing in, I think a bass rider or something caught me and was wanting to talk and do an interview. But we were somewhere in the middle of it. And the first person I saw, like while I was right in the middle of that interview, was you. I'm like, hell with that interview. Dude, I hugged you. And I mean, it was like somebody died. It was a huge celebration. Like everybody just parted and left us alone. And I'd have been the same way if Andrew would have been there too. Both of you guys know what I've been through and experienced it and wanted it and worked for the same goal. And I was glad you were there. It was really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was I mean, so you had come down from Hartwell, stayed at my house. You know, we did a live the other day at our camp house and we went out fishing and I mean, I want to talk about that a little bit. Me and you went out and it was what looking back at what we did, like I just kind of went fishing and Hallman just kind of went with me and we just kind of talked because Rayburn's such the most unique lake and Hallman's been there so much and has had a lot of success on Rayburn. But even with all that success, he probably knows Rayburn is one of the sketchiest lakes in the country to fish. Yeah. Like, I'll be honest with you. I told him, I said, if I had my chance to end on Grand or Rayburn, I would pick Grand because I know too much about Rayburn. And it kind of even hurt me in this event in the sense of I knew how to go catch a bigger bag on day 2 and I went for it. And Hallman went to just go do what he needed to do and did good and did, you know, like did what he was supposed to do, like did good. And he could have caught a giant bag doing what he was doing. But it was funny that like we just went out there and fished. And I think it probably calmed you down because like nothing we did was like, I don't know, explain that how like, I want to explain to him that like, it's not like you fished anywhere where we fished or did anything. So, it was just.
Yeah. Did you, by any chance, I mean, I was just wondering, did you listen to, because I was on Bass Talk Live this morning. Did you happen to listen or catch any of that?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I told the story this morning on BTL. And also I'll tell it again here for the people that weren't there. I know a bunch of our people are overlaps, but so just be patient if you've heard it. But
yeah, I haven't heard it. So
the Red River, I was sitting in, I don't know, fifth or sixth in the points, tied for fifth, tied for sixth, something like that. But I was only 9 points out of the Elite Series with one left. And I was driving home, and Todd called me, and we've been, obviously, you guys that watch this channel, you know, we've been friends for a long, long time. And he called me and he said, dude, this is your shot. Like, you got it. And the last one's on Rayburn, and I'm fishing the tournament, and I want to win, but I want to do everything I can to help you. You need to come down here with me before practice starts, before we really start practicing, before everybody else gets there and everything else. And I was like, all right, I will. I've got to go to South Carolina to fish Hartwell. But as soon as it's over, I'll just drive straight from Hartwell to your house. And he was like, all right, do that. And I knew where we were headed because we've talked about the hybrid hunter for many years. And I know what success you've had with it and the things that you do. But it hasn't translated for me. And I haven't had the confidence in it, and I haven't thrown it. And like, I wanted to be in the boat with you, see it, feel it, see what you're looking at, see what you thought was strong, what you thought was weak. And I didn't really know, exactly how we were going to do this because you and I both have fished a lot of tournaments at Rayburn. And I know that you know, and I know that we fish a lot of the same areas of the lake. We do. And I didn't want to get on top of you because you were trying
But we also fish Grand all the time, and we never.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know, and I've had a lot of success on Grand, but we never really.
Yeah,
like bump in.
Sometimes we're close to each other, but not
Yeah.
always on top of each other. But this one I didn't want to get, and you didn't want to get, and I didn't really know how we were going to do the practice day. And we took off, and we started off on some stuff, and we looked at it, and then we would just basically went to the other arm of the lake that you and I generally. I'm just going to throw this out there. We don't. I don't want to say always, but we don't generally fish, and it was a great idea because it allowed us to really dig in, have a good time, and for me to learn. And, the whole time Todd's explaining, this is what we're looking for. This is not what we're looking for. This is bad because of this reason. This is good because of this reason. This is why I like this. This is why I don't like this. See, I got a bite out of this, just like I told you. This is why I like this. And there's nothing more powerful than that. And then it was basically, okay, here's the rod, here's the tackle, here's the equipment. This is how I do it. And, when you come back next week and we all start practice, get after it. And yeah, we're going to end up on some of the same stuff. It's going to happen probably. Don't know how good it's going to be. Don't know how bad it's going to be. This is not like an all buy-in. These are some other options you should look at. These are some options that I'm looking at. And probably one of the most powerful things that you said was like, look, dude, you're going to have to top 10 or come damn near close to make the elites. So you can't do exactly what you've been doing all year, chasing the AOY and the overall, which is kind of saving face sometimes, right? Finishing 60 or 70. Like, you're going to have to take some chances. And I agreed 100%. And Todd was like, I don't know what those chances are. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself in practice, but you're going to have to figure out what those risks are. And after the first day of the tournament, I told him about my story and how I'd caught my fish, and I was sitting in 10th place. And I said, dude, at 11 o'clock, I got 4 fish, and I got time to take some risks. I don't have much because I got a short day, but I took those risks, and it happened. And, there was just a lot of power in that friendship and trust. And hell, after it was all said and done, I never saw you once at the Derby, did I? And,
No.
I thought for sure, hell, we're going to be sharing some of the same stuff, but we didn't. And
No.
that was, it's a big lake and it worked out great. But for me, I know you didn't have a great second day, but it was a good week for me. And I don't have that. Like I was telling Todd, you guys don't know that are watching. Todd had a really bad day, and he flat told me, he said, dude, at one point, I'm sitting in the middle of Rayburn with a lot of time left, and like, I don't even know I don't have the confidence to go anywhere and catch fish, and that's pretty bad. And I agree with him. I know what that feeling's like. I've done it at Grand and Eufaula, and I've had that feeling, and it sucks. And then there I am sitting in there doing exactly what he taught me how to do, exactly what to look for, and I'm getting a few bites. Now, what the bites that I'm getting and what I'm trying to accomplish and what he's trying to accomplish, quite honestly, are a couple different things. He's trying to put himself in a position to win. I'm trying to put myself in a position to make the elites. And so we're chasing a little bit different goal there for sure on day 2, which, you guys that fish a lot understand that changes a lot of decisions that you're trying to make on the water too. But it was definitely, my push, because we have the same style. It's visual. It's shallow. It's visual. We can see it with our eyes what we're looking for. It's right in my wheelhouse, and I just took 15, 20 years of Todd's confidence and just didn't put it down. I just kept looking for that sign, turn on the light, catch a few bass, and it worked out. I mean, that's what happened. And I'm talking like I just won some derby and waiting. There was 30-pound bags waiting in this tournament. I weighed in 12 pounds. And
yeah, but
normally that wouldn't matter. But to me, it felt like I'd weighed in 30 pounds.
Yeah, but listen, I mean, no one's going around catching that fish like you did on day 1. That's just not happening. And like, and that was the risk, right? And even for me, like my dad always said, I'll never forget this comment he made to me. And my dad loved to play golf. I don't care about golf. I only saw him hit a golf ball one time in my life, and it's freaking unbelievable. The one time he was teaching my older brother and all his college buddies, they were all dogging about how good they were. He gets up there and, like a dad does, and just freaking just knocks one. And I was going, what? Oh, okay. And everyone just got quiet, and he just gives the club back and walks away. He's like, that's how you do it. And he wasn't being even like, he was like, how them dad, like they just do it, like no big deal. And he loved to watch golf, and he said to me one time, I said, man, these older, he liked to watch golf for 2 reasons. The first reason, or for the main reason. And it was weird, because I was like, this is kind of boring. Of course, I'm a kid. I was like, why do you watch it? He's like, I just like to watch when it comes down to the final day. I want to see who cracks under the pressure. And I never really heard my dad talk like that, right? Because I'm just about that age where I almost understand what that means. But he just loved to watch guys crack and who wasn't going to crack. I understand that now, but at the time I didn't. It was just a game, like guys hitting a golf ball and waiting around and taking too long. And I was like, God, man, these old guys, man, I can't believe that guy missed a putt. Like, you would think all these old guys would be like the best putters in the world. They've been doing it forever. And he was like, no, man, old guys are the worst putters, man. It's always the young guys. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. He's like, you'll understand one day as you get older. He said, all them old guys, you don't remember the 5,000 putts you made. You just remember like the 10 you missed. And so when you get up there, you don't think about all the ones you make. You got a lot more misses up there too as you get older. And sometimes that's the ones you think about. And so I got out there on Rayburn, and I knew I could go catch a fish, sort of, but I only knew of one way to like catch them. I mean, and I'm not gonna, I just knew of one way to like get a really big bite in multiple, like more than one. And I had caught him out there deep on day 1 and done some stuff, and that went away really quick. Like it didn't go away quick for everyone, but doesn't mean that, you're going to hit the right stuff at the right time. So when I went up there shallow, and I had gone up there shallow on day 1 for like 2 hours and caught like 6 or 7, like it was pretty easy. So I thought it was going to be pretty easy. And when it wasn't, I knew like home, and I had to put one bait in my hand and just freaking put your head down. And normally I know what that bait that is, but I was like, what if this happens? And I put the bait in the hand, and man, I got a bite or 2, and they just missed it. And it'd have been all over. But it still doesn't change the fact that like I just go in the weigh-in, that like no one knows that, right? I still don't have, like, they're not in my bag. So it's pointless. I can still look back and go, would I have done anything different? It'd have been nice to go catch 12 pounds and make the cut. Yeah. And live to fight another. I'm not saying I would have caught 12 pounds, though. That's the thing. I might not have caught anything. But yeah, I did feel it was a one time in a long time I felt I just felt not lost out there, but going, I could see what was about to happen. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna live and die by it. And I could see myself dying by it, and I could not stop it. I just had to keep. I would try to change, and I'm like, nope. This is really, if I really truly believe that I'm out here to try to win this thing, don't stop.
Yep.
And that's hard, man, because I just talked about that on them local events. Like that's what we used to have to do, but usually nothing was on the line, right? Yeah, man. It was tough. You
Yeah,
know?
it was. Day two, I actually fished both ends of the lake, and if I had have stopped on one of those spots, because Andrew, just like you, was trying to do everything he could, and he'd give me a couple of digits, just a couple, and he was like, "Dude, I'm only giving you two because there are a school of fish on each one of these," and I thought very hard about stopping on one because I had to pass it going to the other arm, and I didn't have anything. I had two fish or one. I had one fish, and it's later in the morning. But at some point, I was like, I've got to do this my way, which was shallow and just grind. And if I hadn't have done that, I would have never given myself the opportunity to get as far up the other arm as I did to allow myself to run into those fish. You know what I mean? Like if I would have stopped and who knows, maybe I would have stopped on Andrew's spot and caught, 15 pounds. I mean, maybe I'd have made the top 10. I don't know. But my point being is that those were deep offshore places with schools of fish on them. And I hadn't spent any time doing that in practice. I know how to use live scope, and I'm sure I could have caught some, but I just felt like grinding on the bank was what I needed to do, and so that's what I did. Just like what you were doing, trying to make the best decision to put yourself in contention to win. Have you been reading the comments? We got some great people in the house. I just started looking.
Yeah, well, the problem was I told y'all that we were gonna like talk a little bit, which we usually just go straight into comments, but I thought, and that's why I'm trying to put them on here. I mean, there's so many of them that are good.
We got some of our really good friends in here on the comments, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's sad because no matter where we go, like Luke's always trying to be like that guy who's like tries to take over.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So he's made like 5,000
trying to show
comments.
us up.
Yeah, like half these things, like it got into this like Luke Duncan and then it went into all these guys talking about low lifers that they're, which like I said, I mean, and then Andrew's on here. And look, so we got Andrew, we got Frank, like Andrew, Frank, and like Luke. I can just go down the list. Like, look at this.
Stop talking to Reed.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it's just not like these are all in a row. Like they have their own. Like, look, I mean, then your boy Nate's in here. I mean, they have their own. Raj Bass is. Look, I don't even know.
Nate Dogg killed the biggest deer.
Look at this. I don't even know what this was from. Like 8:30, so I don't even know. Maybe I was talking. Oh, I guess maybe you left. So I'm talking to nobody. Okay. See, like I said, we got academic mailbox. Like, dude, they're all in here, but they are all. I don't even think they're listening to us. I honestly think they're just having their own. Look at this. They're just one after another. They're just going. They're just having their own conversation. They're not even paying attention. So it's pretty. Hey, so let me ask you this: was there a point? Was there a point this year through all the events? Like, was there that? We should talk about the highs, right? Right, high, low, high. Now we're on the lows. Was there a point in there where, like, did you not? You never had a bad event, I don't think. Not that you might have only caught a couple fish at Chesapeake or whatever. I mean, you didn't fall in the points really, but was there ever a point where you're like, I'm not, because there was a point where I don't think you were always semi in the conversation, but there was, I think, mainly I would say you were kind of out of the conversation. Like there was always a chance, but you were like, a lot of things are going to have to happen. So did you ever feel like, man, I'm kind of going down like, am I going to do this again? Like, am I going to sit here and do?
Well, that's one thing I talked about this morning. My wife actually asked that.
Keep going.
My
Keep going.
wife asked that question a couple of months ago. She was like, "So if this doesn't work out, are we really going to do this again?" And I had already kind of started entertaining that, and I don't know what the answer to that would have been. Obviously, with the points changing to 9 and things like that would have been more in my favor. I'm sure by January I would have probably regained my consciousness, but I can tell you that at the end of last year, it took a lot to get back in the saddle, and so I probably would have gotten back in, but I don't know. But high points, yeah, let's talk about high points. Man, there was a lot of high points in the year, and I honestly was in the AOY all year long. Well, more towards the end of the year than in the beginning, but I just kept, like you said, I wasn't bombing tournaments. I wasn't killing them, but I wasn't bombing them. And my name just kind of kept creeping up the leaderboard there, and to where I was in the top 10 in the overall. And like there was some really good chances. I didn't get kicked out of the overall mathematically until Hartwell, which is the tournament before Rayburn. And I say kicked out. I mean, I was still in the top 10, but mathematically, I probably wasn't going to make it in the overall, and the Central was going to be my best bet. But, man, I just stayed positive. Nothing changed. I didn't do anything different, Todd. This year, in the first 2 years, I gave everything I had. I was thinking about that at one point. Like, there's nothing more I can give. There's nothing more I can do. I can't try any harder. I can't work any harder. Other than some sacrifices with my family and things like that, which I wasn't willing to do, never have been. Other than that, you know, just completely leaving home and going and living at lakes, which I'm not going to do at my age with my wife and children. So there was nothing more I could physically do. I couldn't give any more. I had committed as much as I could possibly commit in my life, and so there's no regrets, right? No matter what happens. But man, there was some high points. I just don't remember very many of them because it was such a struggle.
Dude,
high points, honestly, high points for me are you'll relate with this too.
I was going to say
we always rent houses.
Oh yeah,
we stay with our boys and we cook. And Panger is a good cook as you and I are. He's good. And around that grill, around that kitchen and cooking at night, that is like the only time, and we talked about this a little bit this morning, that's the only time that you really kind of get to release from the pressure of everything that's going on. You get the friendship of true friends around the table at night around dinner. There's no bull crap. Everything is straightforward. And it's a little bit of home and relaxation and a little bit of enjoying, right? So now we're just fishing. It's just buddies on a real, a lake that is at least well known, even if fishing's not good, but it's just buddies and fishing. And that's really what it comes down to. And it was the same way when you traveled with us that first year, I mean, that is the one time that things are more homey, those are the good times. And it lasts about an hour, hour and a half, and then everybody goes to bed and, it's over. But that's about it. My wife's teasing me. She snuck into my office here.
I had to go put Michael to bed. So
no, you're fine. But
I already did.
Dinner time.
No, I'm saying I already did. That's why I had to get up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just reading comments. I'm so far behind. Like these are from like 8:40 and stuff, but I'm gonna put these on there because those are just great. Because I mean, look at this. Yeah, anything about Panger and me just messing with him is great.
Dude, you were so on Panger's head. It's scary. It's so scary. You're in Panger's head like Jason Christie is the entire Elite Series field. Dude, this is no joke. He hooked the biggest, he's caught a 9-pounder in a tournament. Weighed it in. He's got like a replica that made or something like a 9. Yeah. He hooked the biggest bass he's ever hooked in a tournament in his life. Bigger than the 9. It jumped, did all this stuff on a drop shot.
Wait. Do I have to tell the story?
No. Todd, so I'll tell it. You don't tell anything.
Okay.
Todd had already made fun of him, got in his head, and talked about how in the history of Rayburn, and it was funny when Matt told it, but in the history of Rayburn, there's never been a bass bag caught, da-da-da-da-da. It's never going to happen. You need to put that fairy wand down. So he hooks one in the tournament. You don't know this part. He hooks one in the tournament out of a brush pile. Giant. It's out there jumping and stuff. He's got it on. First, he thinks he's hung up in the brush pile, and then he realizes this is just the weight of this fish. And then it starts jumping, and he's still got it hooked up. Like, he's got it on a drop shot, dude. It's over. And he's like, live scoping around. There's no trees. There's no brush for it to get hung up in. He's got it out in like 35 foot of water. It's over. It's his fish. And he had thought this thing so through. He was like, he said he was even saying it out loud. He goes, I'm going to name this thing Todd. When I go across the stage, I'm going to go, I got Todd. Because you were giving so much hell about how nobody would ever catch a bass on that lake. And then it just pulls loose out of nowhere. Just like pulls loose on a drop shot. Oh, my God. It was such a good story, dude. You got to go back and listen to Bass Talk Live this morning.
All right. I had told him the story of a buddy of mine from Virginia, and he had come down. We knew each other from Strike Pro, and we were both with Strike Pro, and he had made that. It was that Bassmaster Weekend Series stuff when they used to have the championship, and the championship would go to the Classic. And Albert Collins won the event, but he comes down here, and it's Albert Collins, David Curtis. No, this is out of the whole country. So, but since the championship's in the fall on Rayburn, it was Albert Collins, David Curtis, Steven Johnston. Like all those guys have won these incredible amounts of tournaments on Rayburn, and this guy. And I had taken him out there, just kind of explained some stuff to him about the lake. But I told him, and like, this was real. This was like 10, 12 years ago, right? So, I mean, you talk about a spinning rod. I mean, I'll have a spinning rod on my deck, and use it. But like, this was like, dude, I didn't even hardly own one other than crappie. And he was like, tell me about this. I'm like, hey, look, man, you just throw that worm in that brush pile. Like, don't be getting too cute out there with none of your this or that or all this stuff. I said, man, if they're there, they're liable to bite usually first cast. And I was like, they're not tricking one. Like, if you just time it right, sometimes you catch one. And so there's this one pile that had been pretty hot. Anyways, I think it was on day. He finished awesome in the event, but it was day 3 or day 4. It was a 4-day deal. It was one of the last days, and he tells me he tells me about this night. He really didn't want to call me and talk to me about it. He's like, man, I lost this big one. I was like, oh, man. He's like, I would have been up there, like maybe winning it. I was like, what happened? He's like, well, I had this like 9 or 10 pounder. And from Virginia, you don't catch 9 and 10 pounders, right? And He was like, it's this freaking, he goes, it comes up and jumps. I saw it. And he goes, because he told me, he's like, I broke it off in a brush pile. And I'm like, well, how do you know it's big? And he was like, well, she come up and jump. And I'm like, she came up and jump? How did you get, like, how is she in the brush pile? He's like, well, I had her on that spinning rod. And I was like, God dang, I told you not to do that. He's like, I know. And so anyways, it jumped, went back down in the brush pile, broke him off. And I was like, was it your first cast? He's like, no. It was my second. And I'm like, well, he goes, well, yeah, I got to be honest with you too, man. I kind of missed it on my first cast. So I was like, it was your first cast in there, right? He's like, yeah. I said, dude, I told you. And I told Panger this story. And then I guess it came true for Panger.
Yeah.
To a degree.
I was there when you were harassing him about it, but it was funny the way he told it, because he's a good storyteller anyway. But yeah, it's funny. You're definitely in his head. I wanted everybody. I get a lot of comments about, like, Upshaw's pick 'em, open pick 'em, open guys pick 'em. And everybody's like, "Wow, we're going to miss you on the show," which I don't know why, because I'm the worst picker on there. I have the worst score every year. But
can you?
That's what was my question. Why do I all of a sudden have to be off of it? One guy put, "Well, the name of it's Open Anglers Pick'em, so you're off."
No,
Oh,
dude, Open Anglers and freaking Hallman. We can. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions on here, and I've had this question a lot. So let me just get right to it, especially with this group on your channel. A lot of people want to know if I'm rooming with Scott next year because of our history and staying with Scott before. I don't think so. I think I'm going to be with Sukup. He's an Okie, and we've been together, and I think it'll probably just be me and him. There's nothing. Todd will tell you the very first phone call that I got, Todd was standing next to me. It was Scott Martin, wasn't it, Todd?
Mm-hmm.
And he was off fishing that.
He was fishing that, world championship.
Yeah, he kind of helps run that team, and he's got a lot going on. So for him to be the first person to call him meant that he was probably sitting at his way in, watching our way in. So we're still all extremely good friends. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just he's kind of got his little group that he's been with for a long time. Actually, the guys he's with were guys that he was with on the FLW tour as far as roommates go. And, John and I have been roommates for this year, and so we'll probably roll it into next year. I've got 6 years of experience on the Elite Series and 4 more on the FLW tour. It'll be John's very first true rookie year. So I'm sure that I can help him navigate some of that. And he has the tenacity and energy and killer instinct that I probably can feed off of as well. So it will hopefully be a good duo. I can see that. And I don't think we're going to get the house any bigger than that right now. I'm going to wait for Andrew and Matt. That's what I'm going to do because I know they're coming.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a weird one. You like, I know a lot of those guys that room together and stuff, and man, they can help you and hurt. Like, I know who Mullins runs with, but part of the problem with Mullins running with some of the guys he does is like certain guys he talks to, and then other guys he won't even talk to in the house. And it's not anything against Mullins. Mullins is like, yeah, I mean, we just don't fish anywhere alike, so it wouldn't like if I room with Panger, it would be pointless for us to even talk about what's going on.
Yeah,
none of that is negative. Like Mullins wasn't being negative. It's just like me and you fish so much alike that like our practice days for the most
somebody asked Matt Airy tonight. Apparently, they must have asked about me. I'm guessing. Is that what you're saying, Chris? I think it's funny if you're asking Airy if I'm staying with him. Somebody asked Airy that tonight. That's funny.
I don't think, like it me and you, when we talk, and Andrew can kind of go both ways because Andrew still likes to, like, Andrew can fish like us, and then he can kind of do a little bit of the other way too. He still kind of has a little bit of his own style, and me and you have our own style too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, when it comes down to it, if like, I promise you one thing, if there's a small flipping bite, you will see Hallman flipping. And if I can get a bite on a frog, yeah, you will never see me pick up a flipping stick. I will be throwing a frog. So, I mean, there's definitely differences. And we will, I mean, Louisville, we were both throwing a spinning rod at times. I mean, we'll do a lot of different stuff, but there's also guys that are out there going, what'd you do today? Well, I graphed today, and I'm gonna graph all day tomorrow. And I don't spend my time graphing. Like, I can graph on Rayburn for 5 days and never find a school of fish or never. So if I can't do it on my home lake half the time, why would I do it somewhere else? And that's not a knock saying I can't graph. It's just I'm just not a guy who wants to, like, one, I don't want to graph all day, and two, I don't want to sit out there and rely everything on one spot. I mean, I can tell you what happens on Rayburn when you do that. You get burned. So, I mean, a lot of that's just where you grew up. Toledo, where Andrew grew up, a lot of those spots like that, they'll be there for like 3 weeks, and you go smoke on 25 pounds every single day. So a lot of that's just how you grew up. Panger told me why he fished a certain ways, because when he grew up learning how to fish, that's what they did. So it's very hard to get out of what you're used to doing and what you like to do. When it all comes down to it, Jason Christie does the same thing. Like if he has the worst term in the world, you know what he's going to go do? The thing he loves the most.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Now I didn't say what that is, but we will all go do the one thing we love the most.
Duncan said he'd rather walk into a sliding glass door face
Do
first.
what?
Duncan said he'd rather walk into a sliding glass door face first than go grab for 5 minutes.
Oh God, that's true. You know.
This stuff's good, dude. Sean O'Brien's on here tonight. That's my boy over there at Bethel. He's from Norman, Oklahoma. He's killing them over there. Won a big derby last weekend, same time that I qualified. Those Bethel boys just keep coming. I mean, there's a bunch of them in the opens right now. Catch them every single week. There's a bunch of college kids. It's not just Bethel. Golly.
Yeah, like so. I'm gonna say this. This is I had this conversation with Aaron Johnson the other day. So me and Aaron are going up to Gunnersville Friday for the Toyota Championship. We're rooming up there together. Russell ended up making the championship and is not going. And we got old Gilberto's coming with us.
Yeah.
And Bo's are so we got a little
good looking man. You remember that?
Yeah.
Looking man?
Yeah. So we got some crew going up there, and I was talking to Aaron, and I'm like, man, live scope. I'm not going to get into this whole live scope thing, but live scope continues to I don't want to say progress, but continues to do whatever it's going to do. And it's going to do that throughout our industry and throughout fishing. And you're going to look up and it's going to settle back down, right? You're going to see highs and lows of it throughout the year, times where it matters, times where it doesn't, stuff like that. However, I probably have a different take. Can I say this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how about this? Before I say this take, I'm going to ask Hallman a question. Do you catch your fish the final day on Rayburn without live scope?
No.
Now.
None of them.
Now listen, guys. If you listen to what I said, does he catch his fish without live scope? Now, I'm going to ask him the next question. How many of those fish did you catch using live scope?
0.
So let's see if any of those guys can add 1 + 1 and get 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what happened. I told you after that day, we were standing backstage, and I said, dude, I don't catch a single one of these fish. Because I didn't catch them until 2 o'clock or 1:30 in the afternoons when I started catching them, from 1:30 to about 3:30. And I don't catch those fish. It's guaranteed I don't catch them.
I got to go down. I got to go down to the end of the. I got to go down. I've just skipped all the comments just to go listen. I want to see what people have to say. It's going, wait a minute. Todd just asked him if you don't catch those fish without live scope, and he said no. And then he just asked him, did you catch any fish off live scope? Or he said, you catch them without live scope? You said yes, whatever. And I'm like, so here's the deal. I told Aaron, I said, hey man, me and Russell talked about this. You'll talk about this. As we get older, right? It starts. Caleb's like,
yeah, you did. We're throwing them for a loop. You're right. Holy crap! I don't get it. I thought they would. They keep thinking it's the grass clumps or that I'm seeing them. I'm not seeing them with the live scope. That's not.
No.
live.
Yeah. I'll explain this.
You can turn the live. Don't tell them yet. Let them keep guessing.
Yeah.
You can turn the live scope all the way off.
Yeah. I want to hear
live scope. But I
want to see if anyone gets this answer right. So, I was sitting there thinking about this and going, man, these. I told Aaron, I said, hey, man, back to what I was saying. As Russell started talking to me, because we used to make fun of Curtis all the time. Anytime we saw David, and Russell's always giving him a hard time, like, you can't win like you used to. You're just getting old, and we talk about that, about getting old. And old is relative, right? Wrong. Uh, wrong. Uh,
Wrong.
Everyone sits there and thinks that as you get older, you know, like things start to progress and get better and all these things. Wrong.
Dude,
As
this is
you
some good information too. You guys waiting around, like guessing the wrong thing. This is powerful stuff. But the answer is strong. I can't believe this many people can't figure out the answer, Todd.
No, that's not it either.
No, it's not. But it's close.
It's close. All these are wrong. They're all wrong.
I know. And it was so obvious when it happened too. You know, it was like so obvious. And you got it as soon as I said it. You were like, "Yep."
Yeah, they're that. So when Russell was talking about us getting older, you know, it happens to everyone, right? And that's what happened. And that's close, but still wrong. Wrong. I'm never gonna get this done, but it's just saying
I don't know
wrong.
what the question is. The question is, tell them again, Todd. So, like, how did you phrase it? You phrased it right.
I said, okay, would you have caught any of your fish without live scope?
No.
Did you catch any of your fish with live scope?
No. That's it. That's correct. That's how you
That's
work.
it.
Yeah, that's the question.
So as we get older, things start happening, as things start progressing, and live scopes coming around and all these things. Now, you brought up an interesting thing.
God, they're not going to get it, dude. They're not going to get it. I told you so to give them a little hint.
Look,
my word to Todd.
Read it.
And he got it instantly.
Read it.
The day of the tournament, I said,
read the comment.
Huh?
Read the comment.
Did you find it? The one you got highlighted?
Yeah.
That's it. David got it right. That's it.
David Reynolds got it right.
Yep.
So I told Aaron Johnson while we were driving, I said, hey, man, all we have to do, what we have to do is make it through the Mike Tyson, the first 3 rounds. We got to get through Mike Tyson's first 3 rounds of freaking coming out swinging and weather the storm.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is this, guys. So any of y'all in here that are older and been fishing a long time and go, man, live scope's going to kill us. What's going to happen is this. More and more, me and Hallman didn't run into each other on this tournament, nor did we run into almost anyone else in this tournament. We just didn't run into people.
No.
What's going to happen is the people he brought up is, what did he just say? Bethel, right?
Yep.
All these college kids are growing up with live scope, and they're going to be great at it. And they're going to do all these things, and I know a lot of them. I've gone on. I've taken one out now a couple of times. Me and him gotten close because of a mutual friend. And he went out there with me Sunday. And what we got to do on Sunday, I mean, I've been fishing with him a couple days, but I haven't taken him out on Rayburn. I haven't done like an actual, like where we went out and got on a pattern. But when I got on the pattern Sunday so good, I was like, watch this cast. Bite. We're been fishing for 30 minutes. I'm like, we're going to get bit right up there. Give us about 2.
Yeah.
And this was like, these were not like spots. These were like, I'm like, I haven't fished this area in like 8 years, but I'm like, he's like, what are you seeing? And I'm like, man, I've been looking at this my whole life. Y'all have been looking at that screen your whole life. I've been looking out what's in front of me my whole life. And I said, I can do your live scope thing, but here's the problem. When that live scope goes away for whatever reason, when we go to Ross Barnett or Red River or whatever it is, I can still do this. And y'all, it's going to be very hard for y'all to do the opposite. So as we get older, if we can weather this storm of live scopers coming through, there's going to be no one else that knows how to do what we know how to do, which is run down the bank, use our eyes, read shorelines, where like, we don't even come off pad. We're like, I'll catch him there, waypoint. Hey, that dock's right, waypoint. They got to go look at their graph. And I'm just telling you, man, it's going to happen, and it's going to free up some things. Now, we might get too old to where we like, there's only going to be
right now.
I told Aaron Johnson, I said, look, we only got a little bit of time before then we're like way too old, and we won't, but I was like, if we can make it just a little bit longer, man, we're going to have a lot of stuff to ourselves, and boy, they better watch out. I don't know, but yeah.
Sean O'Brien, the kid over there at Bethel, said the kid that won it.
Yeah, I just saw it.
Yep, didn't even have live scope. Sean O'Brien can fish the bank too. I've had him in my boat. He can get her done.
Yeah, I probably did have a video about this, but I'm seeing it more and more. We saw it at Smith Lake. We're seeing it a lot more. And certainly, don't get us wrong though. Now, like I said, not all the time. Like, there's going to be times where you can't compete without live scope, no doubt. But it sure is making a lot more people stay out there. I mean, live scope, the problem with fishing on Rayburn, I know, is live scope probably helps some guys catch some big bags, and it probably absolutely crushed some guys out there looking at brush piles, watching big ones around there. And they go, we can't get any of them to bite. But it's hard to leave when you see them down there. It ain't hard for me, because I still have to bring up everything I've learned in the past and go, hey, just because I sit on this brush pile for the next 2 hours, I mean, I'm going to catch them. It doesn't matter if they're there or not. Like, they still don't work. But,
I wonder if the Justin Phillips that's in the comments, if you're still on here, Justin, comment, are you Justin Phillips from Eufaula that used to ride in the back of mine and Larry's boat, or is it a different Justin?
I was wondering the same thing. I'm looking for.
I don't think it's Justin Phillips from Eufaula, but it might be.
It might be.
Yeah. I saw John Pilcher was on here tonight. Pilcher's always in. It always amazes me, because as good a fisherman as Pilcher is, and then he's just so obsessed with fishing that he's always chiming in on your stuff and my stuff, and he's just, he's ate up with fishing. That dude's won as much money in Oklahoma up at Grand in the last decade or longer than anybody, and it's amazing that he's still that ate up with it. I wish I had that hunger. Like, he's just starving for it, just anything. I mean, he's just interested in the sport. But I was wondering if that's Justin Phillips, because he's about like Pilcher at Grand. He's that good at Eufaula. I mean, he's got the Open coming. He's got a lot of tournaments coming to Eufaula next year. So I was wondering.
I know. Hopefully, I'll see him. I'm gonna hit him up, because I met him when I made the All-American.
Y'all all made the All-American at Texoma that year. I was there.
Yeah, that's how I met him, and then I realized he was good friends with you and Larry Ray and everything, and I was like,
he's a good kid. I say kid, oh man, now, but he was.
It's him.
Oh, really? Cool. That's awesome.
This is a good dude, man. Like, yeah. So yeah, like, when I was fishing Texoma, it was after like day 2 or whatever. I think I was in second. Justin was in first, and that's how I got to know him. He had a rough day on the final day, because he was leading it pretty good. And then I remember running into him on the final day, and when I saw him, I'm like, he didn't have him, and I didn't really have him either. But I realized how tough it was, so it made me kind of switch up some things, and I went and Jeff Reynolds ended up beating me by a couple ounces, but we both made it. We ended up going to Wilson for the All-American. We ended up, I think we even stayed together pre-practice. Yeah, we stayed together pre-practice, and then he kind of hung out with me and my wife, because when we were there. Anyways, I got to know him. Really good dude. I know he's still catching them. He'll and you told me, man, I'm gonna throw something at him. You might not like this, Justin, but I was asking Hallman about, hey man, like, what's up with Eufaula? I've never been there. I knew Larry Ray was a heck of a fisherman on the lake, lived there, because I used to stay with Larry Ray every time I drove through to there. And he was like, just get ready. Phillips is gonna win Like he's gonna win it. And I'm like, man, that's a pretty bold statement, man. And he was like, no, man, he's gonna win it. He's gonna win anything on Eufaula. I was like, great. I was like, well, maybe I need to freaking call him up.
So I used to tease Larry. For you guys that don't know, Larry is probably my very best friend in life. Probably the best friend I'll ever have. And he was my team partner for many years when we were fishing locally. And he lived at Lake Eufaula. And he passed away from cancer a couple years ago, but at a young age. But I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, Justin. So Justin used to ride around the back of Larry's boat. And he was a kid, and Larry would be fishing BFLs and stuff. And Justin was his co-angler, and he'd practice with him this and that and the other, and I'd stop and visit with him during the day. And as time progressed, Justin started fishing on his own and getting a boat, and he started getting really good. And I'd go over to Eufaula and we'd fish team tournaments, and we'd finish in the top 5 and Justin would win. And then we'd finish 8th or 9th and Justin would win. Then we'd finish 20th and Justin would still be winning. And I told Larry one time, I said, dude, you don't tighten up, I'm going to trade you in on Justin.
He was young when I met him.
He's just like the rest of us, just like Pilcher that's on here. Like, dude, we know what the deal is. When you guys start catching them like that, we know. Guys like Todd and I, we understand what you're doing. We got it. It ain't no secret. It's called work, and it's called a lot of time on the water. And we know what you guys are doing, and we know what you've been through because we've been through it too. We know what it is. We do. And I think Justin, I don't think he fishes. He's kind of like you, Todd. I don't think he fishes as much on Eufaula as he used to. Kind of like you don't fish on Rayburn as much as, when you were young and hungry. And but he's still good enough that he's benefiting from it. I look for him to be very strong come the opens and stuff this year that are going to go there.
Yeah, I got to figure out my whole schedule on what I wanted to go do. We got a guy like that on Rayburn. We got a young guy popping his head up for the last couple of years on Rayburn Toledo. I wouldn't say he's young. It's really hard to be really young on Rayburn, and most of the guys on Rayburn, I'd say a guy around 30 is kind of young. Yeah. It's very hard to be consistently good at like 20 something. Guys might do good here or there, but we got a guy like that popping his head up on Rayburn Toledo, and I talked with him the other day. Like, man,
somebody was talking about him just a minute ago, a few comments ago.
I was like, you got to get out there. And I said, man, you're doing good, but get on out there. If you want to do this, get away from Rayburn for a while. It'll help you out.
Go up to that one comment above, Justin, say that you got highlighted. Highlight the next one up.
That one?
Yeah. He's asked that a couple questions times.
Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted to answer that because
I'm good with it. Yeah.
Well, no, the reason is I know the one. I was like, man, I don't know if he's got any fears, but I could be wrong. So I want to hear.
Actually, you'll be impressed with what my fear is. You actually talked to me about it. My biggest fear is you probably put it in my head and you made me realize what it was. So my largest confidence. What is your confidence and what is your fear of fishing the elites? Confidence is that I've been there and done that. So like these 2 black trophies behind me, I feel like I can win a couple of blue ones to go with them. And that's why I came back. That's why I'm here. So I've got a lot of confidence in that. And I'd like to chase the classic trophy as well. My fear, and I'm being honest with this, and Todd actually called me. He goes, dude, I'm really happy you made it. Think about what you told me. I'm really happy. The day after I made it, we talked, and you said, dude, I'm really happy you made it. My biggest fear is I don't want to see you like you were in 2011. Your last year. And I was miserable, and I was ready to sell my boat, never fish again. I hated it. I just couldn't stand it. And that's my biggest fear is, and Todd was like, don't go down that alley again, no matter what, no matter how good it goes, no matter how bad it goes. If it's 2 years and they kick you out, enjoy it, be there, do your best, catch some fish, and whatever happens, but do not let it turn you mentally and what it turned you in 2011. That's probably my biggest fear.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, to hit on that, there's another guy, me and him used to be buddies, and we are back to being buddies again. I've seen fishing do a lot of bad. So like you see, everyone sees the part where like the money side where we all know the guys that like fish for a while and then all of a sudden they have a bad year or two, and the next thing you know, like they'll never fish again. Like they sold all, like they have to, like there's no more money, like they credit cards and all these things. But I've actually seen fishing where, and this is the part I brought up earlier in the video, and I had gotten to a point that I just didn't like it. Not fishing. I didn't like what was going on in my life. And what I mean by that is like, you can see some struggles. And dude, you might come in at 4th place and that's a struggle. Like even if I could go back to it, I would. Justin put on there. I was kind of giving him a hard time. Not a hard time. I was just explaining like that tournament. The dude qualified for the All-American. But if you see his comment on there, don't get mad, Justin. Because I know you're not like this, but he was like, yeah, that's my heartbreaker. Right? He did good in the event, qualified for the All-American, and he looks back at that as his heartbreaker. And I don't blame him for that. Like I get, like I've come in second in tournaments, man, and I don't even know what place he came in, but like he was leading it. He felt like he had it there. He was all lined up to win it, and he didn't. And sometimes like doing bad in an event isn't that big of a deal, but like sometimes doing really good and it not working out at the end, it can do something to you. And so I saw a lot of guys over the years, like they hold on to that and they carry whatever it is from that tournament and they carry it with them down the road and they can't shake it. And it's not that they bottle it up inside, it's like they don't really know how to deal with whatever that is that's going on with them. Some people do. I found myself, like I said, driving home and then being a little bit mad about some things, right? Or it would be whatever it was. And I looked at my wife, and I think we were getting married. Maybe we weren't married yet. I can't remember. But there was a time in there where I was like, all right, no, we were married. I was like, you can't bring this home ever again. Like it's over with. It doesn't matter. So I learned to drive away from that tournament and be like, now granted, my faith has helped me a lot with that, to where I don't I look at it now, like even this last event, I'm like, man, he had something else in mind for me, so I'm cool with it. So it doesn't even affect me hardly at all anymore. It kind of got me on the water a little bit, but I mean, by the time I got home, other than being tired, I was fine. But like being able to like drop it before you walk through that door, because it will affect your family, your life, your kids, and you don't even realize like the mood you're in. And it's all from fishing. Like the one thing that we're supposed to love and want to do all the time, and it drove home and not to want to fish the elites anymore. Yeah. And he's open about it, right? And so that's what I was like, man, just enjoy the elites for whatever they are. Like you did all that work to get there. Don't put so much like you already made it. And if you get kicked out, and I can openly say this to him, I'm not worried about it. If you get kicked out in 2 or 3 years, I know it sucks, but it is what it is, right? And so like so instead of worrying about it, just go enjoy it. Because I think when Hallman enjoys fishing and does it, he'll do fine. That's why I'm not worried about him doing. He'll be fine on the elites, because he's going to be in a place where if he enjoys it and he's out there having fun and coming from the opens, it should be enjoyable. Like everything about the elite should be 1,000 times better than what the opens are, from the money to the traveling to how it all is set up. It should be 1,000 times better. So just enjoy that part and don't get hung up on all the other part, because I've seen it ruin some people's not lives, but like, man,
we've definitely ruined people's lives. We've seen that. We've seen it, and not even just the elites, like just even team tournaments. We've seen it ruin people's lives.
Yeah. And what you see when in those same people, those are the people that are ruthless on the water, and not in a good way.
Right.
They look at that stuff and it's like, I'll do anything to win. That's that mentality that'll drive that mentality of man, I'm gonna screw my friend over. Yeah, that guy's going down the bank, but I'm gonna cut him off. Like, and it starts making you live outside of really. Some people are actually like that, but if not, it'll make you fish a certain way that doesn't really look good on the water, and it might not be who you really are. But man, I think it can drive some people to that, to like go over that edge. And I can just tell you, man, me and you, I never worry about that with me and you. Even when we've been down and out, like we're the type that like we'll roll out before we go do something that's not right. But yeah, that mentality will get some guys like you've seen it on the elites, man. Like they got the pressure and all that stuff's getting to them, and they get out of character quick.
Yeah,
that's how I look.
And I'm ready for some of that. You know, I experienced that my first stint there, and I was young and didn't know how to handle it. But yeah, I'm actually prepared for a couple of them to get out of character. You know, I'm gonna help them get back into character real quick. Because
I've heard.
I know right and wrong. You ain't gonna tell me what the difference is. I know what it is.
Yeah,
yeah, I'll help them get back into character.
I remember. This is one of the things I get, and this is a touchy subject, but we're old enough. Like it's all right. I don't care anymore. I have a lot of guys that fish the front of the boat ask me, how do you deal with certain things with co-anglers, certain things? Because there's a lot of things that go on. Now, 90% of the time, my co-anglers are great, right? Like probably more than even 90%. Like it's way more than that. But I hear stories, like I hear stories from both sides, right? We both have. And they will blow you away. I mean, you'll hear stories from co-anglers that like, and I just shake my head at them going, I don't know what to tell you, dude, because that boater shouldn't be allowed to fish ever again and should never be allowed to have someone else in his boat if he did that to you, right? Horrible. And I've heard from boaters going, now what did that co-angler do? Like, but they'll ask me, so does this happen anymore? I'm like, not really. And they're like, why? I'm like, well, luckily I'm older now and I'm pretty seasoned that I don't think they pull a lot of that stuff with me. And I was like, but when you were younger, they're gonna test. There's some guys out there that are gonna test you as a young pro. So yeah, like Hallman even told me one time, he was like, Hallman told me one time, he was like, hey man, like you even asked me some things about what I would do with co-anglers, and I'm like, hey, look, man, you just put your blinders on and just go fishing, and like I don't really paint most of them in a sense. I was like, I fished with too many good co-anglers over the years, like guys that have won out of the back of my boat. Like we traveled with, like, dude, I've had Steven Metter, the best co-angler in the world, practice and travel with me, and that's how I met him, because he's the guy that fished in the back of my boat on the final day at Grand, and my co-anglers had zeroed for 2 days behind me.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, I know it's going to be tough out there. And he was like, it'll be fine. And I was like, no, man, I don't think you understand. It's been tough on my co-anglers, but he's like, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And I was going, okay, who's this cat? Right. And then we get out there, and about 2 hours later, I mean, my co-angler had not caught a fish in 2 days, either one of them. And I look out there and he's like, I think this one will coal. And I'm like, yeah, it'll coal. I mean, he's back there coaling all day long, wins the event, wins all kinds of events. And I don't even know if he knew what I was doing half the time. He had his head turned, fishing out the back of the boat, just catching them. So I've had all those guys. I'm like, hey, look, I don't pay attention to them, because like the good ones, they don't even know what I'm doing. They're out there just catching them in the back of the boat, crushing on them. And I was like, man, I know that got away, but that's why I was saying that we've been down so many roads. Hallman's been down everything with half these guys. He knows half of them, but they're not going to look at Hallman going, hey, I can probably do it to this guy.
No, they're not.
It's like, oh, I better watch it, because,
Yeah, that does go. And I kind of experienced that later in my career. But yeah, early in the career, they just bully you around and push you on you. And, but later in my career, I noticed, I mean, I never said anything. I never acted any different, but I just noticed guys kind of shied away from my boat, as opposed to like, you catch a couple and here they come, and it's kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna start up our stuff and leave. And I know that's what it is. I mean, because I've done it and I've seen both reactions, and it's not that I'm acting any different. It's just that they know who I am, so they don't push me.
Read that one.
Let me go back up. I will.
I got it highlighted.
I'm back at it.
Yeah. Look who wrote it.
Oh, I did. I already saw that.
Okay.
Clay Olstein, another college angler, and he's one of our favorites. He's Andrew's boy. Honestly, I'm always jealous that he's Andrew's boy, but he's a rock star, dude. If I could have a son-in-law, Clay Olstein would be my son-in-law. By the way, Clay, I got a daughter. It's 18. You know, anytime, son. Favorite tournament of the year? Hell, it was Rayburn. It wasn't my best finish of the year, but it was my favorite tournament.
Was it really?
Yeah, well, yeah, I qualified.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's the only reason. I mean, I probably had some other lakes that I liked. I really liked Hartwell a lot. That was my worst finish of the year, but yeah, just qualifying. That was it. What was your most hated the most? Man, I'll tell you, that one was easy. That's Virginia, that river.
Chesapeake?
No, that's up in Maryland.
Not the Potomac.
No, that's in
No, wait.
The James.
Yeah, James.
It's not because I don't like it, dude. For 2 years straight, this year and last year. So that's 9 tournaments this year, 9 tournaments last year. That's 18 tournaments without a shadow of a doubt. Last year and this year, by far, hands down, not even close, my best practices. I don't mean just like one day. I mean every day. I'm getting bit, shaking off fish like I'm going to crush them. And they both. Last year was my worst tournament of the year, and this year was my second to worst tournament of the year, and very close to being my worst from this year as well. Couldn't tell you why. Last year I kind of know why. This year I have no idea why, and it was my worst of the year. So those were the two. He had one third question there, but I don't know what it was. But dude, I love Clay. He's a good dude. Yeah, thank you, Scalish. I appreciate it. Dude, when I was a rookie, I think me and your dad were both rookies at the same time. Frank Sr. on the Elite Series. That guy's a hammer up north. That's the dude that Kevin Van Dam calls when he goes to the Great Lakes. His dad, Big Frank, Uncle Frank.
Well, so what you got? Do you got anything else for the rest of the year?
No, it'll be all sponsor obligation, and then I understand what's going on in the Elite Series, and I understand what's in front of me, and there's a lot of work to do. You know, obviously legal, right? Everything that's public and whatever. We're off limits, but they're allowed to see some of the waterways. So I've got to look at the rules again exactly, but I'm in a different situation than I was in 2006. So if it's possible, I wouldn't mind seeing Okeechobee, you know, for myself, just to kind of have an idea, because they are 2.5 days practice. And
do you know where? So I don't even know the schedule. When's your first one? That's all I care about.
First one's in February, and it's exactly where I won my very first time I stepped on the FLW.
So Okeechobee.
Yep. And maybe Lightning will strike twice. Who knows? BFE in my hand and flipping stick. I don't know. You know how that place is. I don't know if you've ever been. Yeah, you've been there once.
I went there. So that was my first ever tournament. That was my first ever tournament on like an FLW event.
Right. Yeah, you were there. Yeah. But
and it was
I can't have the information.
I'm not I already, you know me. It was overwhelming and a great learning experience.
Yeah.
And luckily the last couple hours of practice, I figured them out and got a check. And it was a nice feeling to drive. Like if I'd never gone and like fished for a $10,000 check, right? And you roll home with a $10,000 check, but dude, that's I'm sorry. That's a 18 or 20 hour drive for me. And I was going, how in the world do I make this drive without a check? Like, I mean, that's a long drive to sit there and think about, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I did not catch him, and I just missed out on a $10,000 check, and I only got, you know, a select few more opportunities to cash a check. But yeah, pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool play. Like, I liked it.
Yeah, I like it too, and I'm looking forward to going.
But definitely big and overwhelming, and there was a lot. It really, that first year on tour, I was not what it didn't matter how good a fisherman I thought I was. I did not hit my stride till the second year because yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
This Ron Swinford, you gotta highlight it. He's talking about.
I haven't read it.
There we go, dude. Todd will agree with me. The Sabine and the Elites in June cannot be. Now I may regret this, and I may finish 101st out of 90 guys. There's no way it's worse than the Red River in September with 225. You agree, Todd? There's no way. At least you can get off by yourself somewhere.
At the Sabine?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you want to. I mean, I just because I know some guys, what they do, I don't pay attention to all that. I just knew the only thing I knew about it was some guys drove to Houston.
Hey, I can't get any information.
Well, no, that's not information. I'm saying, like, on the Elites, like, it's on record. And I'm saying I've never been on the Sabine. I couldn't tell you one thing. I'm saying, and then I know Christie. They made a big deal about Christie when he won, that he was filling up his boat, and like he was getting back with less than a gallon of gas every day.
Yeah, but those boats only hold like 38.
Well, but my point is like, I don't even know where you can go on the Sabine. Like, dude, I don't live that far from it. I ain't never gone and fished it. We've had some championships. I skip them. And it's great because some of those guys that live down there, it's funny when they actually like to talk about like places like that, and they're like, oh, you know, it's pretty good. I'm like, well, it's good that when y'all's club tournament with 14 people go out there and fish, and no one's been on the water in like a month because your fishery sucks. Like, oh, you can catch 3-pounders out there. I'm like, well, yeah, because like you haven't run into anyone in like a month out there fishing.
Yeah.
But those places, like, what did everyone say about the Red River? Right? So there was
good that there was 19-pound bags being caught.
21-pound bags, and college guys caught 19. And oh man, guys are catching 3-pound. There's 3-pounders that live in that thing. 13 pounds, the biggest freaking bag that came in, other than I guess, you know, yeah. Well, I'll put it this way: a 13-pound bag was, other than Hackney's. I mean, Poche's came from a place that no one ever fished.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they were just like, no one hit that area. So I mean, other than that, yeah, it's not good. But I trusted the people like Aaron Johnson, guys that were from there, that say it's horrible. Oh, here we go. I might have to go do it. I might have to hit him up. I mean, well, hold on. In a month or two. Was that November, December? Yeah, I could probably see November, December.
Yeah.
Everyone will be out, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's got to be better than the red in an Elite Series event. That's
That's
all I was saying. It can't be as bad as that. Besides, I tend to do well on those grinders anyway. That's how I ended up leading and winning the points in the Centrals, because it was the grinder of all grinders.
Well, so those grinders, man, you either freaking, like, they're not. But I knew Rayburn was going to change some things up, but Red River I knew was the one that, like, you just can't mess up on the red, and then you had it. Yeah. That was the deal. Because I mean, that's not a place where Arkansas River's like that for me. Some of those places are like that, where it's like, you don't have to do good. You just can't. You can lay an egg on those places. You know.
Yep.
Well,
Let's
getting
call
about
it
that
a night.
time. Huh?
You ready to call it a night?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. I mean, we're gonna I'm sure we can get the next one we do, let's get old Andrew up here.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk to him about what's going on, what he's got going on next year. I want to talk to him. I don't know. I want to talk to him about his shows. You did this show. Are you doing another show of his?
I haven't talked to him about it. He's like I said, dude, he's known what I've been through, and I know he needed me to do one, and I know he did, but he knew what I was up against and everything I've had on my calendar, so he kind of just tried to work around it. I know he has. So no, I don't have one on my schedule.
Okay.
All right, dude. I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate all you guys on here tonight and all the support. It means a lot to me. I think we've already lost Pilcher and I don't know why I just went blank. Help me.
Phillips, Scalish,
Phillips, yeah,
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are freaking some of the best fishermen in the state of Oklahoma right now, and it means a lot that you guys are in here supporting me. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I hope to be at Oklahoma next year. I'm gonna go freaking hang out with you and
Phillips. Yeah, you go hang out with Phillips.
Oh yeah, I need to go hang out with Phillips. I was gonna say, like, Grand, like this is the first year I have not fished Grand in forever. I was pretty because that open got on top of that other Grand one, so I want to go. Kind of made me mad. I like going up there.
Yeah. All right, dude. Thank you.
All right.
Greatly appreciate it.
See y'all guys. Thanks for showing up.